Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to my session titled How a Cloud-First IT Stack Helps Shape Company Culture. My name is Anisha Vaswani. I'm the corporate CIO at Box. I have 25 years of experience in IT. Prior to coming to Box about 5 years ago, I was at VMware, at Agilent, and HP prior to that. I spent majority of my career working in a variety of IT roles. So I'm excited to talk to you about how we think about this new world of IT and how we run IT at Box. I'm going to start by setting some context in terms of the environment that I think we all are dealing with. So first of all, if you look at our environments, our processes at all our companies depend both on people inside as well as outside of the organization. And increasingly work is across our four walls of our own organization. And we depend very much on collaborating with partners, with customers, with supply chain vendors, and a variety of people outside of our own companies. Our teams really demand intuitive cloud-based tools that work well together. We've heard this term a lot, the consumerization of IT. I certainly feel it in the environment that I work at, where the employee expectations on how intuitive and easy to use tools are is just as high in the workplace as it is in their personal and consumer lives. So that consumerization of IT is a very real trend that we see within our environment for sure. And then thirdly, we continue to need uncompromising security that doesn't slow business down. So I think business is faster than ever. Our environment is more proliferated than ever, and yet we need to be just as diligent about security as we navigate this new set of expectations from our employees. And this future of work, I think, warrants really a new approach to how we think about IT, how do we think about acquiring solutions, how we architect them in our environment. And I would like to contrast kind of how we used to think about solutions and how we procured solutions versus the sort of newer trend of best-of-breed tools that allow us to create this new modern IT experience for our employees. So traditionally, you had lots of monolithic solutions that were proprietary, that changed very, very slowly, that were complex, and you got a lot of vendor lock-in because you had single vendors that provided a lot of breadth of solution, but not a lot of innovation or depth. And increasingly what we see in IT is this move to best-of-breed solutions that tend to be interoperable. You have rapid innovations because you have vendors that focus on solving very focused problems and solving them really well and responding to customer input really quickly. They tend to be more simple and intuitive. They provide you with flexibility as a buyer in terms of what you want to use. And there's a lot of focus on solving very specific problems. So there's a lot of product specialization that allows them to be hyper-focused on solving a single or smaller set of problems really well. And so this really brings a fundamental shift in terms of the technologies we evaluate, how we evaluate them, how do we think about them, and how do we incorporate them into our environments. And so these are some of the principles sort of we employ at Box as we think about how do we create a best-of-breed stack and how do we assess solutions and bring them into our environment. So I think principle number one is you can't predict the future, so don't lock yourself in. So, shying away from proprietary technologies or from vendors that don't integrate well into the rest of the environment is super important to us. We certainly look for solutions that will integrate well in our environment, that use standard mechanisms for integration, that have open APIs that allow us to leverage and innovate as we need to support our business needs. Second principle we use is that innovation is faster than ever. So select vendors that are really setting the pace, right? And this is really the promise of best of breed, or the reason why we want to go down this approach anyway, is really looking for those vendors that are innovating, and especially in areas where you're looking for a lot of innovation, you can find vendors that keep that pace and push the envelope. The third point is a bit of a counterbalance, but nonetheless super important, I think, is recognizing that points of control matter, and you need to distinguish between what I call systems of record and systems of engagement. So systems of record are things where you master your data, whether it's your financial information, whether it's your HR information, whether it's your opportunity or lead information. Obviously, you have to be a lot more careful and considerate about how you evolve those, or how how much you're willing to iterate on those. One, they just tend to be bigger technical lifts, and two, you just want to be more careful with those systems of record and that core company information. But then you have lots of systems of engagement that allow people to work in innovative ways and also allow you to experiment in conjunction with your systems of record. And certainly for us, those are the areas where we are more willing to experiment and try new innovative things. And then the fourth principle we adhere to, and this is again super imperative in a best of breed approach to building your IT stack, is that integration is imperative, right? We have to ensure interoperability across our applications. The best of breed approach simply doesn't work if that interoperability does not exist within those systems, because all you will end up with is a bunch of siloed applications that don't talk well or don't play well with each other. So certainly one of the criteria we use is ensuring that interoperability is at the core of any kind of vendor or solution we're looking at. And, we talk a lot about technology and culture, and I would suggest that technology and culture are very much linked, right? We talk about how technology doesn't lead culture, but I certainly think that technology enables culture. So I like to say that if you show me your IT stack, I'll tell you a little bit about your company culture. Not because technology is driving culture, but it's certainly enabling it. So when you think about what a digital culture or a modern organization looks like and what we want to aspire to be in terms of having an organization that's responsive and moving quickly, digital culture tends to embody some of these attributes. You see agile, flexible teams. You see work happening across the extended enterprise. You see automated process. You see extreme responsiveness, especially to demand signals and customer feedback and being able to adjust to changes in your supply chain. And you see some security and privacy really embedded into the flow of how you work, as opposed to just securing the four walls of your enterprise. And therefore, I think you need the right kind of technology underpinnings to support that kind of culture. And so what I see in a modern technology stack is some of these attributes. You see a cloud-first, interoperable, API-driven architecture that enables you to integrate these best-of-breed services. It's built around simplicity, around flexibility, and around security, again, securing the flow of information as it moves through your environment. It provides native connectivity and really enables those easy digital workflows that allow you to be both responsible, flexible, agile, as you're moving through getting your work done. And I would submit that how we collaborate and manage information is at the center of this digital transformation, right? To be able to enable this, how do we actually collaborate and work on information? And we've had a lot of complexity in terms of how we manage content. Historically, we've been pretty good about managing structured content. We've put structured content in databases a long time ago. We know how to report on it. We know how to aggregate it. But when it comes to unstructured content, we've had a lot more complexity in our environment. We have content architectures dating back to the days of having, a physical on-prem storage, and even extending to more modern cloud applications that have actually created a significant proliferation of content where you have content fragmented and siloed in different environments. So whether you look at the days of having EMC and NetApp storage, where you stored everything on-prem, to individual or personal file sync and share tools like Google Drive or OneDrive, to even now the deployment of more modern SaaS applications like Salesforce or Slack. If you're not thoughtful about how you manage content, you will end up with a lot of silos of content all over, distributed all over the place. And so we really need to simplify and think about content as a strategic asset and think about how we want to manage it. And so this is where really we, from a Box perspective, are focused on ensuring that you have a single place to manage your content with these three priorities in mind, right? That you have frictionless security and compliance. You're not concerned about how you're not getting in the way of employees doing their work with content, but you're still able to secure it. That we enable seamless external collaboration and internal collaboration, because we know collaboration happens in all domains. And then third, that we're integrated with the rest of your applications and how you actually do work in your environment. And so this is where we think of Box as a single content management platform that allows you to do that. And, if there's one thing I would want to take away from how Box operates, it's the fact that we are this content service that you can deploy in many different ways. On the very left-hand side of the slide, you see all of our first-party apps. You may be familiar with them if you're a Box user, where we have our web app, our mobile app, and tools that we've built. And really what the key point here is that they're leveraging the same content infrastructure that's fully available via our APIs that are leveraged by our integrations. We have over 1,400 integrations, and we integrate to a lot of best-of-breed applications that you would use in your environment, things like O365 or G Suite or Slack, Workplace. To the other end of the spectrum, on the very right of the slide, where if you're building entirely custom applications and you need a content service, we can provide that via a fully available API that you can leverage to build entirely bespoke experiences for your employees, for your customers, for your partners, that leverage the full power of Box and still provide you a single consolidated place to manage all of your content. So I'm going to switch gears and talk about kind of how we apply some of these principles within Box itself and how we run IT at Box. So for us, we really think of our priorities in IT as being these four things. The first thing is, how do we enable a digital workplace and really enable employee productivity, make it seamless from day one when an employee joins, and just make sure they have all of the cutting edge tools they need to do their jobs. We think about it as from a digital business perspective, which is how we enabling our business teams, our business operations team, to enable and grow and scale the business without running into constraints. The third thing always is obviously protecting our house, making sure that we're managing and mitigating any threats from a security perspective. And fourth, internally, we obviously have a mission of being having a dog fooding program, as we like to call it, where we are being our first and best referenceable customer in terms of how we use Box and how we deploy it. So we can share an authentic story of how we actually have leveraged Box as this content repository in our own environment. So when we first think of the first priority around digital workplace and how we enable employee choice, we are a fairly unusual shop in that we have both G Suite and O365 deployed to all employees. So, we have a set of users that prefer to use the G Suite tools. We have a set of users that prefer the O365 tools. And the way we're able to enable that choice really is the fact that for both of those productivity suites, Box is a single common content repository on the back end. And so whether a person wants to open up an Excel file in Google Sheets and edit it there and store it back, and then the person who created an Excel wants to open it up in Excel and continue to work on it, we're able to enable that interoperability through this architecture where the underlying content repository for both is Box. In terms of messaging and collaboration, other tools, we also are a big Slack user internally. And even with Slack, given our very robust productized integration with Slack, one of the things we do is we don't allow sharing of files on Slack, but we have enabled the Slack Box integration so people can share Box links very seamlessly on Slack. What that allows from an IT point of view is sort of chain of control and custody on the content that always resides in Box can be, centrally managed. But at the same time, we allow people to use the power of something like Slack to collaborate on other issues as they're working through their jobs. So just an example of how we really enable employee choice, give them the tools they want to work, and still maintain control and chain of custody on content by leveraging Box as the content repository across these various tools. Let's talk about kind of digital business and our application environment within Box. We're a cloud company. We sell a cloud service, but not only that, we run our business in the cloud. So as you can see, I've put a listing of some of the tools we use, and you'll see that we are a pretty cloud-centric organization. In fact, 100% of our business applications run in the cloud. And we like to enable that all with, Box being the content repository wherever possible. Another slide here that just gives you a more functional breakdown of kind of what tools we use for what particular business process. I think things to point out, obviously, are, not only do we run our business applications, but even things like integrations or monitoring for us run in the cloud. And of course, we use Okta for our identity management solution. And so this gets me to the point that I was making earlier about really focusing on interoperable architecture as a first order principle. So as we evaluate new solutions, as we look at adding to our application architecture, having this interoperable architecture gets super important so that we can effectively manage this best of breed environment. And so we look for some of these guiding principles, having a single source of content, a single source of truth for our content, which we want to see residing in Box, and then having native connectivity and the ability to integrate easily via APIs, via standard integration protocols, to these solutions. So in our own environment, as you can see, we have Okta integrated with Box, we have O365, G Suite, I mentioned those, Salesforce, DocuSign integrated for e-signature. And so we really built our business solutions that support our business processes around this interoperable API architecture, with Box being sort of the content backbone that houses all of our unstructured content as data is created and managed through these transactional systems. And a couple of other examples of kind of where we've dog-fooded or built on our own products is, Box has a platform offering where we can build custom solutions on Box, and we've leveraged that capability to meet some of our own internal business needs. So one thing we have is a partner portal that we built for our channel partners. We use the Salesforce Partner Communities platform, but we've combined that with the Box platform to really surface all of the content we want for partner enablement to be served up directly through Box. And so, again, the sales enablement or the marketing collateral that we create for our channel partners, we don't have to duplicate that on a separate externally facing infrastructure for our channel partners. We manage that all in Box, and we share it via the partner communities integrated, leveraging Box's APIs. We've also built a couple of mobile applications that really use the Box platform. One is that we use in our internal executive briefing center as customers come in for briefing. We've also built an investor relations app on the iPad that we can use to share content on analyst days with analysts and other IR activities. Another example here of how we've leveraged Box and this concept of interoperable APIs to build a contract management solution for our legal team. And so again, contract management is a common use case or problem in lots of companies, no different at Box. And we were trying to solve this problem of, we already stored all of our contracts, customer-facing contracts on Box, but how do we actually surface more intelligence about that content that was stored in Box? And so, again, leveraging our interoperability and API framework, we were able to plug in some AI ML capabilities. We evaluated several and settled on the capability from IBM Watson, something called Compare and Comply, that we used to actually automatically extract metadata about the contract. So as we talked to our legal team, they had about 35 different metadata attributes they cared about Box. Box has always given you the ability to manage metadata on a contract. But what this allowed us to do was automatically extract that metadata by analyzing the actual content of the contracts. And then we also applied some additional skills from IBM Watson in the reporting phase of being able to then manage contractual obligations against those metadata tags, right? And so it's an example of sort of leveraging the power of the platform and this concept of interoperability to really deliver value simply and quickly to our business partners. So I would end with sort of the point that, I think in IT especially, this is true, that the pain of change is mandatory, but it's really the suffering that's optional. So as we embark on this brave new world of enabling digital transformation for our companies, I think enabling the right underlying tech stack can really help play that role of enabling the kind of culture and the kind of responsiveness and speed that you want. And I think we as IT leaders should, use this as an opportunity to be a change agent, to like help drive the change and embrace the change, and not see it as a opportunity to inflict suffering, but really an opportunity to enable a new way of working for our employees, our partners, our customers. And with that, I will end this session, but happy to take Q&A after this session and address any questions you might have.